I've mentioned this before, I think, in here, but I'm fascinated by the story of Galileo. Galileo was born in Florence. He was orphaned, and he was taken in by the Medici family, who was a prominent banking family. And being raised up with the Medicis in Florence, he was given every opportunity for study, for learning, for advancement in every way. And Galileo proved to be a fascinating mind and an excellent student. And Galileo is one of the principal lights and figures of the Renaissance, right? We think of Galileo going up to the top of the Leaning Tower of Pisa and dropping off a 100-pound cannonball and a 1-pound cannonball and seeing that they both hit the ground at the same time, defying what was the known logic of the day. Galileo advanced more than any other person in the Renaissance some of the very foundational things that we understand and know about science today, in our world today. And one of the things that Galileo did not discover himself, but because he advanced the technology of telescopes so much, which he proved, which was that the sun does not revolve around the earth, but rather the earth revolves around the sun. Now, this was a problem in Florence, Italy, in the 1600s, and there was a problem because the Pope, who was the head of the church, the vicar of Christ, the one who speaks for God on earth, had declared openly in a papal bull that indeed the sun revolves around the earth, that the earth is the fixed point in the universe and everything else is revolving around it. So when Galileo published his reports and his theses that the earth indeed revolves around the sun, Galileo found himself in court, on trial for his life, because he dared to speak against the Pope. Now the Pope speaks ex cathedra, which means whatever he says is inerrant, it's infallible, he can't be wrong. And so this for the Pope is not a question of finding out the truth, it's a matter of authority. And he wants to have Galileo tell everybody, the world, that he was wrong and that the Pope was right. And Galileo, being a shrewd man, saw that his life was going to be lost. And so he recanted before everybody. He wrote very publicly, I was wrong, I was mistaken, the Pope is right, the sun revolves around the earth. Of course, he didn't believe it, he just said it to save his life. But it points to me a good example of what I'm like. I'm much like that Pope. I like to think that what I think is right, and it's right without doubt. I'm not going to hear any question that I'm wrong. And I'm only going to listen to people tell me stuff if they're encouraging me in what I'm saying. Now the problem is this. If you go to God, say something that God is doing in the Word or something God's doing in your life doesn't make a lot of sense to you. It's problematic. And you decide to go to God and ask God, why? Explain to me why you're doing this. You need to understand right then and there that by asking why, you will become a dead man. And you will give up all power and authority over what you want to do in your life. Because to ask why is an act of worship. And the hymn for this worship is Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. In all your ways acknowledge him. Do not lean on your own understanding, but in all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make your path straight. That's the idea that my understanding is broken. My understanding is faulty. My view of the world is in error. And to ask why is to admit that everything I understand and know to be true is wrong. And so when you ask why of God, you're basically admitting to him that you don't know anything. And that your instincts are wrong. That your understanding of life is wrong. And it changes you dramatically. I'll just give you an example of one of Habakkuk's problems with God. Habakkuk had an understanding of justice that was this. His understanding of justice was such that he thought that God should spare Israel and not destroy it. His thinking was like this. He told God, okay, God, I understand Israel is a sinful place. I'm not disagreeing with you with that. I look at my people and I see that my people Israel are very evil, that they sin constantly, that they're very rebellious. And if you wanted to punish Israel, I don't have a problem with that at all. I think we're due some punishment. Here's my problem, though, with you, God. You're having as an instrument of your punishment Chaldea. Chaldea is an awful country. And if we are evil and sinful, Chaldea is 10 times worse. And so by having Chaldea come and destroy us and take possession of our land, you're blessing somebody who's far more evil than Israel. And he thought that was just wildly unfair. That he thought, Habakkuk had this idea, this understanding, that all justice, all punishment should be by degrees. That, you should get what you deserve and nothing else. Well, in asking why, he says, so God, why are you doing that? Why are you choosing Chaldea? Why are you going to bless Chaldea when they're more evil than we are? And I love the answer that God gives to him, which is basically this one. He basically tells Habakkuk, listen, I am going to destroy Chaldea. Don't worry about it. I'm going to destroy them utterly. They're going to be completely blown off the face of the earth, and I'm never going to think about them again. I am punishing Israel by Chaldea because I love it. I'm never going to discipline Chaldea. I'm just going to destroy it. I'm disciplining Israel for a time here now. Because you have sinned, because I love you, because I love this people, I'm going to chasten them with this. I'm just using Chaldea as an instrument of my discipline. Now that changed forever Habakkuk's view of justice and of punishment. He didn't see punishment now as something that was done by degrees, but rather something that was an instrument of God's love, you see? And it changed his whole view of things. So to ask why was a dangerous thing for Habakkuk, but it was also a transformational thing. Asking why makes martyrs of all of us, okay? For us to ask why, you need to understand it's going to make you a martyr, and you're going to have to sacrifice what you believe and what you want to be true. Incidentally, this is my principal objection. Some of you have noted in the news recently that Rick Warren, who's the pastor of the Saddleback Church in California, he's been asked to give the invocation at the inauguration in Washington this month. Now, I have an objection to Rick Warren giving the invocation. I'll give you the reason why. I don't have a problem with him going up there and invoking the Lord's presence over that procedure. I think that's fine. I guess I have a problem with the way in which he was asked to do it. It's very evident to me that Barack Obama has a faith or a view of Scripture and theology which is very different from Rick Warren's. They have very different views on a lot of principal, foundational things. And what it appears to me is going on there is that the president-elect is asking Rick Warren to come and give the invocation, not because he agrees with him or not because he's interested in finding out the truth of their differences, but rather because he values above all else unity.